Welcome back to Romantasy Chaos HQ, the pod. We are Avery and Xavier Harleston, healthcare professionals by day, romantasy theorists, and aspiring authors by night. Today we are covering the epigraph from Fourth Wing, Chapter 38. This is your warning. There will be spoilers for the entire Empyrean series. If you have not read all three books, it may be time to turn back. We are not rated E for everyone. Xavier has a degree in cussing, and he's not afraid to use it. We do discuss any and all adult topics covered in these books. We like a challenge, so we tackle each epigraph without prepping, placing it into the context of the whole series, not just the chapter or book it's tied to. But you don't have to take it cold. So here is our post-recording one-sentence summary of the chapter. Nothing makes sense to Violet as venom poison floods her veins, but Xaden refuses to lose her. Not that Terran would let him. So the crew flies to find someone who can help. There are 6 minutes on the clock, and Fourth Wing lore as confusing as being poisoned by a venom blade. So don't blink, don't scroll, don't let Terran distract you. We have 360 seconds to blow your minds.
And go.
In the event you come across a poison you do not recognize, it is best to treat with any and every antidote. Either way, the patient will die, but at least this way you would have learned something. Major Frederick's Guide. Nope, Major Frederick's Modern Guide for Healers.
That's not a very nice modern guide. But it doesn't matter, they're gonna die, experiment on them, hopefully you'll learn something is, wow, like, so Navarian and very Hedian as far as, you know, wisdom and plants and cold and calculating. But I do think it sets up, this milieu of, like, people are usable. Like, use them if you can. In the last moments of their life, learn something from them. They can be an experiment. It's fine.
Well, we see this a lot in the writer's quadrant where, like, even Carr refers to people by their signets, and they talks about the loss of a signet or the loss of a weapon and does not value the loss of the individual. But this is not unique to the writer's quadrant. This is pervasive at Basgaeth because it is pervasive in Navarre. And I think because Violet has been raised in a military family, it is just so accepted. It's how she was raised. It's the mentality she was raised with that it doesn't seem that abnormal to her or that out of place. But for those of us who weren't raised that way, when we come across these, whether it's through epigraphs or discussion or whatever, and we see it in writers, we see it, I mean, infantry is just disposable, right? And we see it here, even in the healer's quadrant. Certainly, it also, if you're a scribe and you get stuck in the archives after 7 p.m., toodaloo, friend. Better luck next time in the afterlife with Malik if your soul is commended to him. I don't know, because you're going to die. So, I don't know. It's just, this is such a the lack of value of human life. Like when human life is disposable, which you have to believe that human life is disposable in order to perpetuate this great lie that they have created and continue to perpetuate for 450 years or more, right?
Yeah, well, and clearly this is set up to foreshadow and to set up suspense on that Violet's poison isn't going to be treatable, right? To build this up. But in the context that Rebecca Yarros wrote this in response to concerns of erasing history of slavery and African Americans, to have the healers also be willing to experiment on people, given the Tuskegee uh, experiments with syphilis, the syphilis experiments in Guatemala that were done by doctors and scientists and the US healers. If you erase the experimentation that was done on slaves with regard to surgery and OB, you lose the history of the inhumanity of healers. And as A doctor and a nurse, it's appalling, and we're taught to be appalled by it, and unless we're vigilant, it will come back because there will be a group that is worth experimenting on to help those in power. And think this is a deeply deeply on purpose positioning that is not apparent unless you know the history of how particularly slaves and African Americans have been experimented on in the US.
And then people wonder why there's such deep mistrust of the healthcare system by groups who have historically been abused by it. Uh, Pretty obvious why that would be. And this is the type of thinking that you have to be vigilant against because it will pop up. You don't even have to be like a quote unquote like bad person out to um, oppress anyone to start saying things like, and this comes up like, oh, well, we should test these things on incarcerated people. What? Because it's okay. What? And people will say these things like without thinking because they're not. Oh, it's just very distressing. But we're
Well,
kind of getting off topic here.
well, no, well, but I think this is very much on topic. Although it is very, and this is why looking at the epigraphs is so important to understand, at least to me, to understand where the series is trying to point us to think about, because it is really, really easy to look at this epigraph and go, oh, that poison's going to kill Violet, not here is the history in which that epigraph has meaning.
Well, do you think this is any different than what we learned in Onyx Storm about Poromil experimenting on the Venin and like all of the trials they're doing to try to figure out how to kill Venin or how to even perhaps heal them or whatever? Is this any different than that?
Only in a power and who's valuable way, but in the let's learn something from people that we don't value or are already lost or are too far gone. I mean, from the let's learn from people that are too far gone, it's identical.
Yeah, it's the exact same thing. Although I think we weren't necessarily appalled when we initially read that in Onyx, but that is our time. So let us know in the comments, did we blow your mind? Don't forget to check out more theories over on Instagram. And remember, we love you. Stay out of the clouds, off the ice, and come back to us. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Remember, lore lovers, fantasy fanatics, and good girls, like, rate, review, subscribe, and share.